Hey guys, welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. I'm your host, Alex Whiteley, and joining me today is Ian from Flooglebinder. I saw Flooglebinder in my Shrewsbury, fell in love with what these guys do. We have done a show in, last week with You Sucks, What's the Difference? With me and my co-host from America, Tom Bruno. But Tom was more fascinated by animals and these are the adventures that these guys have been on. And I want to talk about Ian in particular because you're local to Shrewsbury. Is that right, Ian?
Yeah, that's right. Sort of born and bred Shropshirean. Newport up until I was about 17. Lived in Newport, and then here between Newport and Shawbury, and then from there it was just Guildford, London, Tunbridge Wells, London, and then came back home 7 years ago, and then Shrewsbury.
I think it's important for us all to find out exactly what Flug. If you've not seen my Shrewsbury magazine this month, by the way, make sure you read that magazine. It's fantastic. It's a great edition. It's a great magazine anyway, but I think this month's edition just blows it out the water. It's great. What is Flooglebinder for the listeners at home?
Flooglebinder it's a way of travel, and we've all seen how we can travel, and I think we're all used to what we know, but Flooglebinder allows people to see nature in situ with no boundaries, no fences, no walls, but traveling with impact and purpose.
Yeah, so to escape from your typical, your typical holiday sat aside the pool to Mallorca every year is great to experience a couple of times, I guess. Sometimes you need those holidays just to relax. But when I go on holiday, I love culture. I love going to see what the locals do and sort of being in those situations where it's not necessarily a tourist trap. It's just the locals doing their thing. I think the last time I did that was I went to Marrakesh, right? I went to Marrakesh and it was such a scary thing because they dropped us off in the bus from the hotel in the middle of Marrakesh. And that was like, they dropped us right in the middle where they knew that the locals knew the tourists were going to be. So they'd walk up to you with cobras and parrots and photos, and you saw them walking towards you. And I was like, took a beeline from them. We found one of the upper level cafes where we just sat, had some food, and just watched It's really creepy, but I just like, do you know what I mean? I like to take it in.
Weird, but it's really not. You just watch where the locals go and watch what the locals do. You end up picking up exactly what they treasure and treat and want to sort of not keep private, but it's more of they're not the non-advertised places. And I think we mentioned it before, where I like Flooglebinder to sit is that analogy of, hands up those who've seen an elephant. Everyone's hands goes up, hands up those who've seen an elephant in the wild. Most hands go down. You still got a few hanging up there. So it's like, okay, how many of those who have seen an elephant in the wild weren't in a Jeep?
Yeah.
And then there's like maybe one hand out of 100. And that's where I want Flooglebinder to sit. And that does encompass working with NGOs. That does encompass working with local communities and just seeing where the money goes. So, we're really proud to be the first B Corp travel specialist that registered in 2016. So we're really proud of that. And that is all about realigning your purpose with profit and the environment. So we have a legal responsibility to ensure that our socioeconomic evolutionary journey is for everyone to see. And we're proud of how it started and where it's going. And if we can get people just to think about their next way of travel being in a green, sustainable, impactful way, then I think we've ultimately won.
Is that a huge challenge though? Because a lot of tourism is associated with, I wouldn't say damaging or damning sort of information, whether it's treading on paths and ruining them, litter, all these sort of things that you get with tourism, especially with Brits when we go and we go to Canaries and say, it's one of those things. Is it difficult to keep things economical for you guys?
I think once you allow people to see a slightly different route, ultimately you give them the choice. Yeah. Because I think when I left uni in 2005, became a dive master, did a lot of work in Indonesia and Thailand, and I started to see something a little bit different because I was immersed in it. And I came back, long story short, I jumped from marine to terrestrial conservation, got seasick after 4 years of being marine biologist and dive master.
Wow.
Got too much. So yeah, just jumped into terrestrial conservation. And I worked with this guy who we work with today, who basically gave rise to Flooglebinder. And we shared this vision of immersing ourselves with nature, and he has this vision of leaving no footprints where they are. So the camp that they use, I mean, he was running sustainable projects before sustainable development was even a word. And it is the same camps. It's following the animal trails. It's not laying concrete. It's working with and living off the land, having no impact on it whatsoever. And if you have that trail of thought, it just becomes second nature. We've been taught a slightly different way from communities and what we think is travel. And it is a way to do it, don't get me wrong. But when you can immerse yourself in a way that you can see how your impact is minimalized, why would you go anywhere else? Why would you do it a different way? It's because people haven't seen it. I think there's a survey done in 2016 of people who were riding elephants, and they would interview these people after they'd ridden these elephants, and they said, "Did you enjoy it?" I said, yeah, really enjoyed it, they said. And then they showed them this video, and it's called a pajan, and it's known, that's something that's coined in our sort of terms as breaking the spirit, where they put the elephant through so much abuse that it's then built within it to do what it needs to do on command. And then they have an ankus where they jab like a steel rod in the back of its ear, and it's serious abuse that these animals go through. And they let these people watch it, and their behavioural change is massive. And it wasn't designed to make them feel bad, even though obviously they did, but it was designed to just enlighten them as to what actually goes on. And humans are phenomenal people, phenomenal things. We are phenomenal people. And once we realised what the impact is, once we've seen it, we then make a conscious decision. So I think we built this company on conscious decisions. We've travelled to 70 odd countries, and yet we only operate in 10. Because I feel it's those 10 that really tick all the boxes of the social environment and the impactful element, where families, when they travel, they know it's safe. They know there's a little bit of risk, but it's monitored risk. But they know that it's local and it's not scripted. And that's ultimately what I think is what people are after. If you want to go and watch a lion, I can guarantee you one at the zoo. But if you want to go and watch one and see what it's going to do in the wild, then we have to be patient. You have to sit and you wait and you watch and you get out the Jeep, then the heartbeat starts going. And once you remove all the boundaries and barriers, life, I think, has become so much more interesting. Don't get me wrong, I don't want anyone to be eaten, but the health and safety, risk assessments would be going off the charts for a start. But it's all about a little bit of risk, but measured risk at the same time.
So do you tend to look for places that don't typically have tourists then, the quieter spots?
Yeah, so our project's in South Africa. This is the guy who taught me back in 2008. Spent 2.5 months with him literally living off the land in the bush, and it was a phenomenal experience. We've built a project with him that's just our program, and this is a section that's within a reserve. So here you have free inter-roaming Big Five, for example. So the camp is, you could literally see spot tracks of hyena or lions in camp throughout the night time. When you're going, you zip up that tent, you can hear the lions in the distance roaring, or the hyenas chattering and laughing. And it's those sorts of experiences that we wanted to marry up. And that basically gave birth to the project in Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, Nicaragua, the Amazon, Greece, and they all carry very different species, very different biomes, very different settings, but they still carry the same ethos of what I felt helped shape my behaviour when I was in South Africa in 2008.
That's unbelievable. I mean, so with all because obviously this is a travel agency that operates in different countries around the world, to make sure that a place is safe for your customers to go to. Do you send out scouts and recce these places, or have you got people that do that abroad for you?
Well, I think it's the age-old saying, isn't it? When you want something doing right, you have to do it yourself. So yeah, we've gone and visited every single element of all of the projects where our names are too. So unless I've personally been and seen these projects, we don't work with them. So I have to go and see. I have to go and look at every element and go and taste all the food and go and see all the accommodations and go and work with the conservation projects and the research elements. And I want to make sure that is not a tourist trap, and you can never judge that via the internet. You really can't. You have to go and experience it. I've experienced, without naming any projects or countries per se, I've been to some where it's just so wrong, and people where they'd have vivariums of wild animals that they'd caught, that they'd gone off and they'd paid fishermen to go and capture these wild turtles and just have them in a vivarium 1 meter squared. And that's where they'd lived 3 years, just to show tourists what a male looked like and what a female looked like. So it's just like, okay, that's not what we want to do here. We want to have behavioural changes to work with nature. And for me, all you need is to view it and smell it, and that's it. And if they come up close, then brilliant. Sometimes that might be scary, but if you just allow nature to just cross its path with yours, there's nothing better. It's all about having that heart just beating a few extra beats. And I think that comes from immersing yourself in what jungle, rainforest, savanna, grasslands, whatever that has to offer.
Sometimes a little bit of information, or even a lot of information, I guess, but sometimes that just takes a little bit to change the way you think about things. I mean, I watch Blackfish. Blackfish is one of the things that changed my complete conceptions of things like SeaWorld, Sea Life, all these kind of places, because at the end of the day, what they do to orcas, to dolphins, all these creatures that they're kept in these horrible tanks for days upon end. They're really small. It's terrible. By the way, listeners, if you've never seen Blackfish, source it out and watch it. It will change your life.
Yeah, well, I don't want to say it's a great documentary.
It's hard to watch.
Opening your eyes. It's a very hard watch. That and Dolphin Cove is a very hard watch. But Blackfish, I mean, I've got to be honest, when I was, I think, 8, 9, 10, I think my father took me over to America and we did the whole international drive and we did all of the parks and we went to SeaWorld. And I think at that age, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing how up close and personal I can get with an orca. And then, I think by the time of 15, 16, I started to ask questions as to why. And then that sort of envelopes into, unfortunately, money. And then that boils down to greed. And I think we're the only species on the planet that exhibits the behavioural trait of greed. And I think that's where it's driven from. And don't get me wrong, a lot of these places have some really cool educational and research facilities, but so much better than what they did do. But Blackfish, that is a big eye opener, that documentary. Yeah,
it changed my world. So how long were you guys trading before sort of COVID kicked in and stopped you in your tracks, I guess?
So I was a lecturer from 2010 onwards, and I incorporated Flooglebinder in 2012, or Bradley did. And that's a bit of a story there. We were struggling for names, and we both have a mutual movie that we quite like, and I just happened to say Flooglebinder from that movie Cocktail. And your Flooglebinder is out there waiting for you. And I said, cool. I woke up with a HMRC, Company's House, and 123 Reg email documentation of full registration of the name. I was like, no. But anyway, the name sort of built on from there, to be honest. But it took us a few years to get going. I think we're a little bit wet behind the ears in terms of how long it takes to generate trust or gain trust as a travel company, because these aren't pens and pencils and jumpers that you're purchasing here. This is a big investment. And it's 2014 we had our first customer, and then from then on we just took off. But COVID, from first lockdown, put a halt to proceedings. We were actually in Indonesia, coming back through Indonesia and Malaysia in March last year, and we had the email which was the domino effect of 100% of our bookings for 2020 just got postponed, every single one. And it cascaded from when we were at the airport, and we just watched it all happen. I think we were again a little bit, it'll blow over. It won't go into Europe. It won't go westwards.
I think we all thought that. We all thought that, didn't we? At first.
Yeah, how wrong we were, and here we are today. But things are looking positive. 2022. I've already told my wife and kids that I don't know if they're going to see much of me, to be honest. So we've got all the postponed trips and some going. So we're lucky to be in a very good position. But I'd say the last 30 months has just been cleaned out, completely cleaned out. We've had to not rewrite the wheel, but we've had to rescope, rethink, and just repurpose our objectives. And we were just staring at us in the face. It was family. So I've given, I don't know, roughly 500 presentations with 500 parents' evenings. And every single one of those parents' evenings, parents have come up or asked in front of everybody, do you do family trips? And I was, oh, no. And then it's like, well, why? And it's like, well, I just want to concentrate on ensuring the student programs that we do are phenomenal. I don't want to get distracted too much. I've come from a lecturing background. I know curriculum and I want to push that forward. And yeah, so I feel really pleased, a little bit, not red-faced, well, I suppose a bit red-faced, but I'm now saying yes to something we've been saying no to. So we know that the customer is there, and there's people like us. I mean, my daughter, my wife, my son, we're well-traveled people, but I'd be naive to think that we're the only ones. There's so many people out there that do opt for an adventure.
Absolutely.
They do opt for the greener way of traveling if they can, because most of the time it doesn't mean more money. There's a big stigmatism with that. Just traveling correctly is a phenomenal experience, but it's the connection with the communities. I think when I was in Nepal, I had a student group there, and this student, he was ranting and raving about Indonesian rhinoceros, elephants, and just loved the whole experience. And the one thing that he summed up for him, he said it was the smile of his host family. He said that was the thing I'll never forget. That's the thing I'll take with me forever. It was that moment that I connected with my host family. And they couldn't speak a word of English. Not one word, but all of them, him especially, he just loved that connection of that unwritten rule of you can't communicate with someone if you're not in your own language. It's just nonsense. There's so much in facial expressions and empathy and compassion. So that's why we have a good mix. And don't get me wrong, it's been, some of them have been a tough journey, but there's some phenomenal hotels out there. And I love them because in one sense, they don't necessarily get the advertising that these big places get. So the big places take a lot of the bookings. I understand that, but with companies like ourselves that try to drive out the companies that give back to local communities, we're really proud of that. And I think when people come to see
it's something else to be right in the middle of that, though, isn't it? I mean, the big 5-star hotels, they offer like the pools, the this, that, the other, the gift shop, whatever it is they have in a big hotel thing. But sometimes it's a different experience to actually be almost living the life of a local for X amount of days. I mean, when I went to Belgium, luckily enough to know we knew a family in Brussels, so we got to stay with them and eat where they ate and drink where they drank, and that was just so special just to do that, because I don't like the tour. Like I said, in Colombia, my wife's from Colombia, so every time we go to Bogota, we stay with family and we go to friends' house, and we've got her cousin who is an actress, so she takes us to the craziest bars that tourists don't usually go into. It's just great, I recommend.
That's what you want. That's ultimately what you want to do. And I think there's far too many companies out. And don't get me wrong, it'll be a nice experience. Yeah. I'm sure it will, but I don't think that you'll come home ranting and raving and telling the next door neighbour and can't wait to tell your best mates and best friends of where you've just been. I really don't. You'd be like, yeah, it was nice. And that for me that's as good as good job. And the good job is just, that ain't good enough. We want phenomenal, epic people who look you in the eye and tell you, like, we cannot wait to go and do this here. What have we been doing for the past 10 years? And there's so many people out there, and I think they just need this gentle nudge to okay, let's just not do the all-inclusive this year. It's only 1 year. It's only once. Let's just give it a go. Because if you didn't like it, you can go back to it next year. No dramas. But I'm pretty sure you will.
I mean, I do package holidays. I've got one. I've had to rearrange one 3 times through COVID. We're trying to get to Greece, and I do like to go to a big hotel, but like at the same time, I feel like people's attitudes are completely different when they go to like a big hotel. They're like, oh, the tiles in the bathroom are completely dusty. 3 stars on TripAdvisor. You know, it's you go there to complain about things initially. You know,
I think when you go on an all-inclusive, I think you've probably got that in the back of your mind. And now I'm not saying that these hotels that give back to communities don't have a bit of dust here and there, but it's almost forgiven because, without being rude, it doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter.
You're there for the experience, you're there for like the life experience of someone in that situation, not the Hilton. You know, there's a difference, isn't there? There's got to be.
I mean, I'd take any one of the accommodations, any one of the hotels that I've seen and been in that over any branded hotel, any day of the week.
We used to. I've stayed when I was in college. We'd go away and we'd stay in hostels and places that were just a bit more low key and just sort of, that's the experience. We go rock climbing or go trekking through the mountains and stuff. They're the best experience, you know.
It is. I think that's ultimately what people are after these days, because these things, they're not cheap. They're not. No. This isn't a. You know, the age old saying of it's you buy cheap, you buy twice. And here, you invest a bit of money, and with all the families that we do. I mean, my wife, bless her, I think it was in 2014 we took B. B was 3. We did to Thailand. She did all of this research, and I remember asking, so which hotels have we booked? And I couldn't name one of them. I didn't know any of them, hadn't seen any of them, and she'd done so much research behind every single one. I think we did 7 hotels in something like 20 days. So it was quite a bit of bouncing around, and it was just phenomenal. And I was a bit in awe of that research involved to find something that's honest and true. And when we went there, I would go to every single one of those hotels tomorrow. Just nice. That, I think, is where it comes from. And ultimately, that's helped influence how we've driven and shaped Flooglebinder for the families of Shrewsbury. So yeah, that's working well. So it's exciting talking to Shrewsbury families. It's always nice to hear. I didn't know much about you guys, and then you just open up the conversation, and it's been really humbling. It's been a very nice experience.
Have you met many people that it's been they've been on the fence about doing a different type of holiday, and maybe you've had to convince them, and they've come back and like, oh, I'm so glad we did this. Have you ever had those? Yeah,
I think obviously everybody who contacts us, I think a percentage of them, how do I describe, forgive the analogy, they're probably a percentage of them are sat on the fence, but they're looking our way. They're peering over. They're about to jump, but they've got questions. They've got reservations on safety, money, duration, health, risk, political coups, vaccinations. But I think ultimately, once you hear about, we follow British standard, with the first company that's committed to climate emergency, with the first travel and a B Corp company, and we've been built out of a very slow organic growth, and we don't use Google AdWords, we don't do anything like that. So we're just a very slow, organically growing company that is, I believe, doing it the right way.
That is, because you'll get the loyalty then. Organic growth is loyal. That's that goes without saying. Yeah. I
mean, I think one of the years over the past 3 years, I think about 9 months, we basically spent trying to partner up with the aforementioned partners that I said, and then the United Nations Carbon Initiative. I mean, these aren't things that you just purchase. These aren't things to say, yeah, we'll do that and tick a box. These things take anywhere from 3 to 9 months to be accredited. It doesn't actually cost much money, but it's an evaluation of your ethos and your values and where your principles lie in regards to environment and your social impact, and what do your customers get out of this journey. Yeah. And that for me is where you're traveling with 2, 3, 4 kids, you and your husband, or whatever, you and your wife, whatever the situation, and it's about your family moving together. And when your family sees these things for the first time, it's a family experience then. And what happens is the phones tend to go down, screens shut off, and you just immerse together. Because I think most people have forgotten, certainly in the past 15 years, when you go on holiday, I bet you most of the parents would be checking their phone once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times a week for emails and work stuff. I bet you very rarely.
I could say that for a fact. That's what I do.
Yeah, and I think when you look at something the way that we've done it, you don't want to. And don't get me wrong, we want you to go back to your jobs. Don't get me wrong, but you don't want to, because you know that you shouldn't, and you're having a far more connected time. And it's, for goodness sake, it's a holiday.
Yeah.
Don't look at the work stuff. Just connect with your family. And I think the environment helps influence that behavior.
When I went to Morocco, I took a laptop and a microphone. I was like, don't worry, Tom, I'll be on the show. We'll do it. Don't worry about it. I was like, and then when I got there, I was like, oh, do you know what? No, it's staying in my bag. I'm not doing it. That's how sad I am.
That's commitment for you right there. And so, it's honourable stuff. But I think, when you've looked your kids in the eye and you've looked your partner in the eye, and you're traveling as a unit, the last thing your kids want is for you to see you on your phone working the whole time. It's like, don't go, just do it well, do it properly, and just connect.
Do you feel like, I feel Marrakesh for me was, at first it was chaos. We had my little boy with us. And at first it was very daunting for all three of us, right? Because me and my wife Kaz were kind of like, whoa, this is intense. I mean, people were like, you want to buy this? Those guys are, it's just absolutely crazy. I feel like that was a good experience for my little boy, because then he can go back and he can be like, that's what it's like in that different parts of the world. Culture is completely different. The capital city of Morocco is absolutely insane, whereas here in Shrewsbury, it's not. I mean, I see that as a bad experience, but a lesson learned. You think that's really important?
Yeah, I do. I think it's entirely important. And there'll be people who will say, well, they'll never remember it.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to remember all of it. Do you remember your holiday every day from 10 years ago? No, probably not. But there'll be moments from the holiday that will help shape his decision process. It will give him an exposure or an experience that you just couldn't have provided. As being sat at home or not going, for example. So I always think, go with your gut instinct, of course, but if there's an adventure out there to be had, guys, you've got one life, and once you make that commitment, you can never make guarantees live on podcasts and things, or live anyway, but I'm pretty sure you won't regret it.
And looking at your where you go in the world, obviously you've got Greece, India, Italy, Nicaragua, Peru, South Africa, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and then Wales. I say that like it's a bad thing. I feel like some people, like they spend so many years going abroad on holiday. Sometimes you've got to stop and look at what's around you. I love Wales so much to go on holiday. I lived in Wales. We've got a love-hate relationship in that regard, but to go on holiday, I think it's a stunning place to go. What is your experience with saying to people, well, why don't you go to Wales? I
think the way you sort of presented that is sometimes the way I present it. And I've got, say, in front of me, 50, 100, 150 students and SLT and the senior management team, the headmasters in there and whatever, and then Wales. But Wales for us, Wales came alive in 2017 because, again, we were listening to the customers back then. We were listening to the fact that we didn't necessarily have a project that ticked all the boxes of not having to fly, seriously reduced cost, and it's more inclusive for everybody in the year group to go. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, we love Wales. Why on earth aren't we doing something? So we teamed up with some really, really cool guys in Wales, and St. David's for us it's a very special place. Out of all the countries I've been to, I think it's like 45, 46, something like that. It's definitely top 5. I mean, it sounds bizarre.
No, it's not.
Because I'm really proud of the places that I've been to. And then, what, Wales? Should really? I'm like, have you been? I'm like, no, you've got to go. And that, I think, ultimately, inclusivity helped us drive that project. And It's a phenomenally successful program, and it's on the doorstep. It's a bit of a journey, don't get me wrong, but it's a beautiful journey, and it's a nice project to have. And I think how we've tied that in with school and curriculum has been really refreshing.
I think it's really important to show kids to appreciate what they got around them. And like you're right, Wales has a spell on me. I went to a flotation tank at Shropshire Floats a while ago, last week, and I was trying to think about what I want from the biscuit. You know, we're official business now. We can get funding. Where are we going to go? That's what I wanted, right? But all I could think about was Pendine, right? We climbed up this hill, me and the family, and we could see the sea from the top of this hill. It was beautiful. I couldn't get away from that moment in this flotation tank. Sensory deprivation. Couldn't get away from that. All I could hear was the waves. It was crazy.
That's it.
So yeah, Wales is very special. So what kind of, I know we've got like 10 minutes left, but what kind of things do you offer when you take someone abroad then? Do you offer hiking, sports, adventures? What do you actually offer as
I love this question because I like to start it off with things that I don't think many people have heard about. Like, right off the bat, volcano surfing. How many people have volcano surfed? Not that many.
No.
It's a little bit easier than standard surfing. Don't get me wrong. Surfing the waves is, it's a blessing to be able to do that. But yeah, say take Nicaragua, for example. We try and build in a link with UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Now, don't get me wrong, we don't want to take the family on an 8-hour tour of looking at architecture. If we take that as a standard that not many people would like to do that. Maybe a 1 or 2 hour snippet and get them they're teased into it. But we build all the project bespoke for the family. So we have a guide, like a skeleton, and then we basically shape it for that family from day one to day end. Volcano surfing, things like visiting cloud forests. I mean, that for me that's almost second to none. I remember I visited my first cloud forest down it was 5 hours outside of Cusco in Peru. And the only thing I could hear, and I was really trying hard to find it, was cicadas, birds, woolly monkeys, and that was it. There was no power lines, there was no pylons, there was nothing other than nature. Cloud forest come in the evening and dissipate in the afternoon. And oh my good gosh, that was just second to none. So it's those elements that we want people to be aware of. We don't throw literature down people's throats. We just gently tease them with the United Nations, for example, and the goals that they're trying to achieve. And you can take as little or as much as those things as you want to, but ultimately you're going to be experiencing phenomenal hotels in jungle or beach environments with activities like the volcano surfing, or shoot over to South Africa and no, we don't want you in the Jeep. Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a walk into the animals environment and let's get the heart racing that way. And to diving and snorkeling, but done in a way where we're not damaging the reefs. We're understanding about bleaching and coral polyps. We teach everybody about the differences between a pristine and a degraded reef and why it's degraded. So we slowly educate people into trying to make them think that they can make a difference, because very simply, they can. And I think when you've got a family there is no better unit on planet Earth than a family working together, because they've just got this one goal. They all know each other's isms and they're just on it. And that, for me, tying in holiday, relaxation, and a bit of education, I think ultimately that's what I think most people would want to experience.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All that tied in with like the local food and the rustic way of living. I mean, I've
not even mentioned food. I can't believe it. I've not even mentioned food. But
La Calera in Colombia, right? You drive into the mountains and you sit down. They give you a wooden or a big tray of potatoes, meat, gammon, and it's literally cooked in a shack, like a shack. I went for a pee in the toilets, and it's literally a wall. Literally a wall, and you're staring at the mountains. Literally, that's how rustic it is, right in the middle of nowhere. Best experience I ever had,
The food is outrageous. This is a strange concept, but some of these places that you would, I think the stiff upper lip Westerner would look at it certainly with their nose turned out of joint, and they wouldn't dream about going there. But if I was to put two of those dishes on a plate, one from a famous restaurant, and one of them from these shacks or stores on the side of the road, I bet you can tell the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Taste. For me, it's all about the taste. It's all about the
I am one of the fussiest people with food you'll ever meet, but like I will try it. I'll always try it. Right.
And I have never, ever been ill from eating off one of those places. Never.
No, me neither. No.
I had a funky holiday with my wife. This was before Flooglebinder. We went to the Maldives and, sick as a dog for 3 days. It just goes to show these stigmatisms and these preconceived ideas of these places. It's not necessarily true, but this is why we go and test these things out.
Yes.
We test them out along the way.
I think you guys are fantastic, and there are so many people that I have caught up during the pandemic, and I mean, this is sort of the closing stages of things. Things are going to start opening again now, hopefully. I would love to catch up with you, say 6 months' time, or whenever you guys are fully operating, and I would love to catch up because I bet there was loads of interest from people sort of writing to you. When can we go? When can we book? I bet there's lots of interest.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get you guys out on something too. But yeah, of course, I'd love to. Absolute pleasure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to come. If you're in Wales or something, we can come and meet you and do so. I don't know. We've been doing a lot of vlogs lately. I don't know. That'd be very, very cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Mind teaming up on that.
Yeah. Well, we did one Shropshire Floats, but I've been nervous about releasing that because I was working. I'm part of the press. It's what I do. I've got to leave my house, right? And we did everything social distance, made a vlog. I haven't put it together yet, but I'm nervous to release it in case it's something like, COVID. But like,
yes, yeah, it's a difficult balance to please everybody in life, but as long as you're following the rules and you're happy, I don't see what's wrong. Wrong.
We're here to help people. Can you tell people where to find Flooglebinder and what they should expect from sort of initiating with you and interacting with you guys at first?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, once you spell it the first time, you never forget that one. So obviously flooglebinder.co.uk or any of our social handles, which is just Flooglebinder at Flooglebinder UK. In terms of expectation, it's more of a chat. We want to know what you're about to commit, let's be honest, a sizable chunk of money to, and we want to make sure that we have tailored the correct exposure and the correct experiences for you and your family. And yeah, that takes a chat. We don't just guess, we talk to you, we want to understand the why. And I think once you've understood someone's why, we open it all up. But yeah, you certainly get to grips with who we are, how we do it, and why we do it, and our purpose. And hopefully we find the alignment in regards to giving you guys just a phenomenal adventure and a holiday that you want to do again and again and again.
I think you guys are fascinating. I really do. And we will catch up in 6 weeks. I'm just looking at your pictures of Peru now. I want to go. I want to go to Peru.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal place. Beautiful place. Beautiful.
Well, I know we sort of I messed up the scheduling for today's show, but I appreciate you for coming anyway, because we set this up for 11. I wrote 12 for some strange reason. I don't know. I'm tired all the time. That's what it is.
It's all good. It's working.
Yes, working hard. Thank you so much for joining me. Guys, we are going to shoot now, but I'd like to tell you guys about our website, which is the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast.co.uk. All of our audio is available on there, and that's made for us by our friends at Web Orchard. If you need a website, make sure you check them out because they will help you. Ian, thank you so much for joining me, and Brad as well for joining us on What's the Difference, because it was great chatting with you guys, and we'll catch up with you guys in about six months or so. I'll drop you a line.
Look forward to it.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.